All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua Bahashim Rakakudash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. This is your fellow servant, Rokayo from the GMS Orlando camp, coming at you with another impromptu lesson. Tonight's lesson is going to be entitled Emotions Get in the Way of Understanding. Alright, emotions get in the way of understanding. And this was a statement that I took from the Elder Apostle Ram Lav's recent live stream that he did about a couple of hours ago, entitled, Then Shall It Be Known Who Am I Chosen? You know, when he made that statement, it sparked the inspiration for tonight's lesson, because I had just got done watching this video from the Elder Yashawamba, going into this guy Alazar. As you can see, his video is entitled Guerrilla Hebrews Hypocrisy and History of the Sakari You Should Know. You know, and that statement from the Elder Apostle Ramlav is a perfect example of what's going on with this guy Alazar. You know, and not just him, but all those who are starting to rise up against the truth of the Bible here in these latter days. You know, what you're finding is that their emotions are getting in the way of their understanding of the truth of the Bible, because the Bible adopts an Eastern mindset. It adopts an Eastern way of life, which this world is not accustomed to. And so things that are brought out of the Bible, certain standards, certain customs, seem to be barbaric, you know, in a sense, to the people of this world, when in reality it's a divine way of life, you know, given to us as a divine standard, given to us, you know, from on high. But when you mix emotions and the scriptures, you know, you're bound to come out with some contorted and twisted way of understanding. You know, you can't couple emotions and the Bible. It just doesn't mix. It's like oil and water. You know, you have to look at the Bible, you know, from a truth standpoint. You know, that's why it's important to go into the history, to go into the different customs, to go into the different standards and the different traditions that were upheld and that were, you know, taking place in the ancient world, to get a better understanding, you know, what the Bible was talking about. You know, and this guy, you know, has been rebuked once again, you know, by the body on a false statement or a faithless statement, you know, that he recently made, talking about we might be here for another 1,000 years. You know, he's been rebuked on another faithless statement that he's made yet again. And his rebuttal to that rebuke, instead of acknowledging, you know, where brothers are coming from in love and correction, you know, his response, like the Elder Yashawamba is going into in his lesson, you know, is to bring up these grape allegations once again, you know, to put to demonize, you know, brothers of the Great Millstone and to paint a bad light, as if brothers are going out here and you know, seizing up women at will because the law says so, you know, which is completely false, and snatching up little girls and so on and so forth, which is completely false, you know, and on top of that, before we get into the lesson, you know, this guy and guys like him, you know, who follow along, you know, with this slander and this offense, you know, you better repent, because the scriptures say you shouldn't offend the little ones, you know, and this is a very offensive statement, you know, to try to paint brothers out, you know, to be some child predators in a sense, man. That's a very offensive standpoint to take, knowing yourself, you know, that is nothing close to what brothers practice or preach. But anyways, you know, we're going to get into, I want to play a couple of, you know, minutes of this video that was done by the Elder Yashawamba. And I just have a couple of precepts, you know, nothing too heavy. Just a few things that came to my mind that I want to get. Lord wants to edify unto you elect. You know what, matter of fact, I want to get this too, because yesterday the Spirit had it to where this video came across my feed, And I clicked on it, in the gym, listening to stuff, going into stoicism, and Jake liked to listen to different things and different podcasts, different informative videos. And I sent this in the chat to brothers yesterday as well. But there was a statement made in this video going into emotions that I want to play as well, because emotions, aren't the trait or isn't a trait that men that the Lord is raising up his men to be led by here in these latter days. The Lord is teaching us not to be led by emotions, but to be led through the faith and the spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua in these writings, these scriptures. To be guided by the Spirit, which, according to John 6:63, the Spirit is the Word. Spirit is the Word, and we're guided by the Word here in these latter days. That's how we're navigating this valley of the shadow of death, through the Word of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, and the application of the Scriptures. But I want to play this real quick, and then we'll get into the video.
There will be moments when your emotions surge beyond control. Anger flares, sadness grips, anxiety creeps in. These are human experiences, and Marcus never denied unchecked. Only worsen the you'll find that emotions, when left unchecked, only worsen the situation. But acknowledging them, letting them pass through like a wave without clinging, restores your balance. The mind, like the sea, can be turbulent, yet beneath the surface lies calm, steady, unchanging. That calm is always accessible if you choose to dive beneath the waves.
Right, and I want to replay that statement again. All right, emotions, if left unchecked, could be a thing of destruction, which we're seeing in a lot of these people who are rising up against the truth. All right, emotions are leading to their downfall. They're their incapability to understand that the standard that the Lord left behind for us to follow, is leading to their downfall.
By letting this consume me. More often than not, you'll find that emotions, when left unchecked, only worsen the situation.
Right, emotions when left unchecked worsen the situation. A lot of these men have unchecked emotions. They've allowed them emotions to guide their understanding of the Bible, which is a destructive mixture.
But acknowledging them, letting them pass through like a wave without clinging, restores your balance. The mind, like the sea, can be turbulent, yet beneath the surface lies calm, steady, unchanging.
Right, and that steady, unchanging, for us, it's contained in the scripts, in the Word, in the faith of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. But let's get this. So I want to play a couple of minutes of this video, and then I'll grab a couple of precepts. Matter of fact, before we get that, I want to get this as well. This is Job 38 and verse 3. It says, "Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me." All right, and the Lord told us, to gird ourselves up like men, show ourselves men. All right, and how do we do that? By putting aside emotions, okay, and meeting and coming with the faith, meeting these things that we read with faith, coupling these things that we read in the scriptures with faith, so that it's able to profit us. All right, let's get that as well. Matter of fact, let's get that precept in Hebrews. Fourth chapter. And verse 2, it says, "For unto us was the gospel preached as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it." All right, so in order for these words to profit you, you have to mix it with faith. You can't mix it with the logic of this world, the so-called logic of this world. Because if you try to do so, all right, you'll bug yourself out trying to understand and comprehend the ways of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. Trying to couple the scriptures with a Western mentality will it'll bug you the fuck out, man. You just can't do it. All right, these things that are written, all right, have to be mixed with faith in order for you to understand it. In order for you to understand it, and in order for it to profit you. Well, here we go.
Ancient custom. We live in a world where you can have, because of the atmosphere, the food, you can have a little girl start her cycle at 8. Does that mean, oh man, well now she's eligible for marriage? No. Of course not. And this has been explained time after time after time, but they know that this will draw what? Shock value. This is sensationalism.
At its finest. At its finest. Sensationalism at its finest. You know, this is another ploy and plot to draw, followers, onto his scheme, man. And this is what a lot of these Israelite groups do, man. They draw in followers, and these gullible souls, through sensationalism, appealing to their emotions to draw them in, because they're coming out of the world. You're emotionally unstable. You're coming out of the world. You don't have emotional stability. It's not until you come into the fullness of the truth that you gain that trait. So these charlatans, man, these wolves in sheep's clothing, they understand that, and they play on that. They play on the emotions of our people. Oh, these guys said, knowing full well that's not what we've taught, what our elders and apostles have taught, and that's not what brothers teach, man. But when you appeal to the emotions of the populace, you gain followers, which equates to money, which equates to a certain lifestyle that these guys like to live. But that's neither here nor there.
If you think we're really walking around here saying it's okay to go and grab up an 8-year-old because she started her cycle, then basically you just want to be mad. That's a reprobate, point. And we're supposed to be what? Scholar. We're supposed to be ancient men coming back in a modern world. So our mindset can't be viewed towards this world. Okay? Yes, women in the ancient, all you have to...
Right, and like the elder Ariella Slakia. I had to do a blank for a second. But like the elder Ariella says all the time, you have to grow up, man. You have to grow up. You can't be no child reading these. You have to grow up, man, spiritually, mentally. Grow up. I'm going to read this again. Job 38:3. Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. All right, it's time to grow up, man. It's time to put away, that childish way of thinking, that childish way of understanding. Let's get this. In 1 Corinthians 13, in verse 11, it says, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. All right? And you're supposed to become a man in this truth, man. You're supposed to put away that childish way of thinking, which is that Christian way of thinking, that worldly way of thinking, that emotional train of thought. You're supposed to put that away when you come into the truth and gird yourself up like a man. Like the elder Yashawamba said, we're supposed to be ancient men coming back into this ancient mindset. All right, the mindset that our forefathers had, which is a very austere and serious way of thinking. All right, a very austere, serious, and faithful way of thinking. We're coming back into that lot. We're coming back into the mindset of men like Paul, Peter, John. Even though you don't believe in certain of these men, we're coming back into that mindset of the prophet Elijah, Yahushua. All right, the scriptures speak about being like-minded with Yahushua. We're coming back into that mindset, that train of thought. And that train of thought and that mindset that our forefathers had was not childish, man. It wasn't emotionally driven. All right, they were driven by faith. Their faith, allowed them to come up on an understanding. They weren't led by emotions. You go and read the accounts of our different, wicked forefathers or wicked kings of Israel. A lot of times they didn't put forth judgment because they might have been emotionally driven. Oh no, I don't want to put her to death. Man, I know she committed adultery, but that's just too harsh. I don't feel right, which led to evil spreading amongst Israel. But let's keep going.
To do is just look up the research. Just do it yourself. Do research yourself. We've done it plenty of times. What was marriageable age in ancient Israel? Show us where it's anything other than what we've been saying. Show us.
There is a historical documentation. A girl in Peru, I believe she started at 5 or 6 years old. They taught that it's lawful. They teach that it is lawful to forcibly assault in a, sexual nature a little girl as long as she has started her cycle.
No, and I'm going to show you all the video I did, and I'm actually going to just reload it. It's called The Biblical Laws on How to Handle Grape. And pretty much men weren't going around just forcibly graping women. That was not the standard way of getting a wife, but it happened. If it happened, the law has 3 or 4 instances on how to handle it. If she's, betrothed or married, all right, and the guy that lay with her and she don't cry out, both of them die. If she's betrothed or married and she cries out, only the man dies, all right. If she's not betrothed or married and she's forcibly taken, all right, then ultimately the man would have to pay the father a dowry, okay. And you could be like, well, what if the father's mad? Yeah, of course you'd be mad, but this matter would be settled by the law. So the law is above our emotions. Okay, then a family is started because now you're going to take care of my daughter. You're going to give me my 50 shekels. All right, which is a nice amount of money. All right, because typically a father will want to go and get a husband for his daughter. All right, and vice versa. Even Isaac and Rebekah were responsible. All right, for, picking the family, just like Abraham. He was responsible for telling Isaac, where he would get his wife from, what people. Okay, so a father and a mother in the ancient times would most likely be over which family they're going to choose to pair, all right, their son or their daughter with. Okay, the law in Deuteronomy 22 is how to handle it in case rape happens, because it happened. And it goes back to a custom called bride kidnapping. Someone can put it on the comment board. I'm not going to keep going into these things. We've went into it. This is an ancient world. This is an ancient environment. We're not talking about America. We're talking about how things were handled in the ancient world. And you guys are so...
And quite simply, it's perfectly put. We're speaking about the way things were ran in the ancient world. And ultimately, the way things are going to be ran in the kingdom. Because the standard that the Lord left behind isn't a flawed way of thinking. The law, statutes, and commandments isn't a flawed way of thinking. It's incapable for us to keep these laws in their entirety, in our flesh. Thus, the Lord is coming back, to give us, new bodies and to place the law in our inward parts. But it's not a flawed way of thinking, contrary to popular belief. The Lord wasn't flawed when he came up with these standards. It's perfect. But in this way, in this society, in this flesh, we can't keep these things, to the fullness, that the Lord wanted us to keep it. But it doesn't negate the fact that these were things that took place in the ancient world. These were standards that were enacted. These were judgments that were enacted in the ancient world. That doesn't change that fact. And in the kingdom, the other nations are going to be governed by these very same laws. But, with that being said, that's all I had. Lord, when it's out of fun, he will let. Let's get one more, actually. It's an old one, a simple one, but powerful one nonetheless. Proverbs 4:7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. And it's impossible to get understanding if you're emotionally driven. All right. If you allow emotions to guide you and to guide your understanding, you will never come into the full knowledge of the truth. The Lord will offend you. You have to meet, these things that we read, like we read in Hebrews, the 4th chapter, with faith in order for it to profit you. But with that being said, that's all I had, Lord, on this edifying that you like. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, Bahashim Rakakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. Shalom. Stay up.